you're an American, and especially if you live in America too, I have a question for you, and it's about...
Take 283. I've been at this for an hour and a half. I think I can finally summarize it all down. Hello, my name is Atlas. The answer to your question is yes. I can explain why. Most countries have a cultural center. So, for instance, in the United Kingdom, everybody says, your culture is basically London, right? Your cultural center is London. Now, you living there, you might be like, well, we have, Glasgow. We have, if you were to say, like, what are American cultural centers, and you had never been to America before, well, you might say New York City, Los Angeles, maybe Austin, Texas. Most people in most countries live in cities. And so there's typically two ways of thinking inside almost any country, right? There is the city way of thinking, and then there is the country way of thinking, right? So if you go, you may, because you're from the United Kingdom, you may go to a farm. Maybe somebody, one of your family owns a farm in the United Kingdom, and they have a big farm, and maybe they have an outhouse, and you're like, damn, I really miss the city. It sucks to shit in an outhouse. Think about it kind of like that. Is basically the politics of the argument, right? So a lot of people in America live along the coasts. A lot of those coastal zones tend to be very, very large cities. What ends up happening is that most of our media is controlled by the people who live in the cities. And this is, I'll do as much as I can without getting political, but basically the people who live in the cities believe that maybe you don't need guns, or maybe guns should only be resorted to in video games and action heroes and the military, and because these are distant concepts than somebody who lives in the country who's like, fucking give me a machine gun, I gotta go and kill some fucking wolves, or I should be able to defend myself from a bear. Or I have to go and kill wild hogs. Incredibly destructive fucking creatures. So the politics basically breaks down to, you have a city way of thinking, and then you have a country way of thinking. That's ignoring all the inner politics, all the history, etc., the Bill of Rights, the Constitution, trying to explain all that. Basically, that's what it comes down to. The people in the city eventually start to think a certain way, act a certain way, and believe certain things, whereas the people in the country, they tend to be a lot more free thinking and based around core ideas more central to America. The core idea is that they're like, this is mine, I'm going to defend it. Whereas people in the city may more so believe, this is mine, I'm going to call the cops. And so there's a lot of cultural impact zones and politics I could get into, but for the most part, that's the meat of the politics. And as you might be able to guess, as somebody who has lived in the United States, our media are basically made by people who live in cities. And so they have this kind of thumb on the culture for the country. That is what gets produced and shipped. The media is made by people who live in cities, which cool, good, media for the most part has been getting better over time. We have cool video games, we have cool movies and TV shows, and that's mostly produced by the people that live in the cities, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it constitutes what living real life is like in the country.